The banquet hall smelled of champagne and expensive perfume, scents I could never afford, but had learned to recognize during my years serving at La Scala. Crystal chandeliers threw fractured light across marble floors, so polished I could see my reflection. A ghost in a borrowed black dress, hair pulled back tight enough to give me a headache. Eyes ringed with the kind of exhaustion that comes from working double shifts and surviving on instant noodles. I wasn't supposed to be here as a guest.
3 or 4.
3 o 4, sí.
My fingers trembled as I adjusted my serving tray, the weight of it familiar, grounding. Around me, Manhattan's elite mingled in their $1,000 gowns and tailored suits, their laughter sharp as broken glass. I kept my head down, weaving between clusters of people who looked through me like I was furniture. That's what I'd become good at, being invisible. More champagne, a woman's voice demanded without looking at me. I filled her glass, murmured something polite, moved on.
There are a lot of lobsters here. Do you want to try to get one?
The rhythm of service was muscle memory now. Pour, smile, disappear. Pour, smile,
Yeah,
disappear.
You want the Barbie lobster.
Then I saw him. Marcus stood near the orchestra, his arm draped possessively around a blonde in emerald silk. My ex-fiancé looked exactly as he had 6 months ago when he'd thrown my engagement ring at my feet and called me a pathetic charity case. But now he wore success like a second skin. New watch, new woman, new life built on money that should have been partly mine.
Nos falta el ride para poder espantar a las mosquitas estas.
Money from the restaurant concept we developed together. The one he'd stolen and passed off as his own after I'd trusted him with everything. My throat tightened. I should have turned away, should have focused on my work. But my feet had frozen to the floor. Marcus saw me. His eyes widened, then narrowed with something cruel and delighted. He whispered to the blonde, and she looked at me with the kind of pity that burns worse than hate. They were walking toward me.
Los queremos mucho, los anfibos. No.
My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. Sophia? Marcus's voice carried false surprise. I didn't know La Scala hired you, though I suppose it makes sense. You always did belong in the service industry. Heat flooded my cheeks. Around us, conversations quieted. Heads turned. Still scraping by, I see, he continued, louder now, performing for an audience.
Es un coral primnoideo.
Tell me, do the tips cover that sad little apartment in Queens? Or are you still one emergency away from homelessness? The blonde giggled. Someone else smirked. I wanted the floor to swallow me whole. I'm working, I managed, my voice barely audible. Excuse me. I turned, blinking back tears that would not fall. Not here. Not in front of these people who already saw me as less than human. My tray tilted dangerously.
Nos comentó Santiago Herrera que él es colaborador en este proyecto.
I steadied it, focused on breathing, on putting one foot in front of the other toward the kitchen doors. That's when the air in the room changed. It happened all at once, a subtle shift in temperature, in pressure, like the moment before lightning strikes. Conversations died mid-sentence. The orchestra faltered. I felt it before I saw it, a presence that commanded attention without demanding it, that drew every eye like gravity. I glanced back. 3 men had entered through the main doors.
Que tenían simbiontes, estos corales, y podían metabolizar.
No, 2 men flanking a third, moving with the synchronized precision of a military unit. But it was the man in the center who stole the oxygen from the room. He couldn't have been more than 30, but he carried himself with an authority that made age irrelevant. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble, all sharp angles and brutal beauty. His suit was black, perfectly tailored to a frame that spoke of disciplined strength.
A novel clade of marine bacteria with severely reduced genomes. Este es uno de los trabajos que hicieron ahí con
Even from across the room, I could see his eyes,
coral similar a este,
dark, intelligent,
Calogorgia
dangerous.
americana.
But it was the way people reacted to him that made my skin prickle with awareness.
Y bueno, hicieron
Conversations
una serie de
didn't just
estudios,
stop.
genómicos
People
y
stepped back, created
de
space,
fluorescencia,
lowered their gazes like he was royalty,
para estudiar
or something more dangerous than
las bacterias en los
royalty.
simbiontes de estos corales.
The two men flanking him were clearly security,
demostración de que
broad-shouldered,
los corales,
alert, hands
usan
positioned near concealed
ecosistemas
weapons.
quimiosintéticos en diferentes estadios de actividad. Pueden estar asociados a el sustrato duro que proveen las filtraciones de gas.
They scanned the room constantly while the center man moved forward with the unhurried confidence of someone who knew no one would dare stand in his way. He smelled of cedar and gunpowder. I caught the scent as he passed within a few feet of where I'd frozen. Expensive cologne mixed with something darker, something that whispered of violence barely contained beneath civilized surfaces. Our eyes met for a fraction of a second.
Alimentación, cría, desove de otras muchas especies. Entonces es importante saber la distribución. Sí, 1A.
His gaze locked onto mine with an intensity that felt physical, like fingers wrapping around my throat. Dark eyes that seemed to catalog every detail, every vulnerability, every secret I'd ever tried to hide. I couldn't look away. The tray in my hands shook, champagne glasses rattling. Then he moved on, and I could breathe again. Jesus Christ, someone whispered nearby. That's Dante Moretti. The name meant nothing to me, but the fear in the speaker's voice meant everything.
Porque andaba ahí.
What's he doing here?
Nunca lo vi tan
Another
activo.
voice hissed. I thought he only attended these things when he needed to send a message. I forced myself to move toward the kitchen, my legs unsteady.
Uy, buenísimo.
Behind me, I heard Marcus's voice,
Éxito entonces.
louder than before, trying to recapture his audience's attention. As I was saying, some people
Sí,
just
ese
can't help
tenía
where
las
they end up in
espinitas
life.
también, ¿lo viste?
Mr. Bennett. The voice was quiet, cultured, with an accent I couldn't place. Italian, maybe, smoothed by years in America.
Sí. No, sí, ¿cómo se llama? Gracias,
But it cut
Pablo.
through Marcus's monologue
Viene
like a
Fabián a
blade
traerme
through
papas
silk.
fritas.
I turned
Yo
again,
me comí
unable to
unas
help
níqueras,
myself.
papas fritas.
Dante Moretti stood
Unas
directly in front of Marcus.
combinadas.
Up close, the contrast was stark. Marcus in his designer suit that suddenly looked cheap, the blonde shrinking back, while this dark-eyed stranger radiated a power that needed no announcement. I don't believe we've been introduced, Marcus said, but his voice had lost its confidence. His hand reached for the blonde's, seeking reassurance.
Bueno, cuéntenos de dónde nos están mirando este
No,
domingo por la
Dante
tarde.
agreed. We haven't.
Caluroso en algunos lugares, por lo que
But
estoy
I know
viendo en los
who you are.
comentarios. Algunos estarán desde la
And I
pelo
know what you
pincho,
did.
otros estarán
The words hung in the air like a
abajo
threat.
del ventilador.
Marcus's face went pale. I'm sorry, I don't...
O le ponen
The restaurant concept.
un poco de
Dante continued in that same quiet,
calzón mojado al
devastating
ventilador.
tone.
Algunos,
The one
¿cómo
you
están
stole
haciendo
from your
para...?
former partner. The one you've been
para
passing
tolerar el
off as
calor?
your own vision.
Así me voy preparando. Tiren
Around
tips.
them, people had created a wide circle.
Acá me sumieren
No one
los
moved. No one
black
breathed.
spots. Me olvido que
How did he know?
nos están
The
viendo
question
desde el
screamed
barrio
through
de
my mind,
Matadero, de Caballito,
But I couldn't voice it.
San Juan, Gesell.
I could only watch as Marcus stammered excuses,
Desde mi
as the
casita
blonde
en el
detached
medio de
herself
Pampa
and
Húmeda,
melted
muy
into the
bien.
crowd,
Esa
as
rap.
this dangerous
Okay.
stranger dismantled my ex's entire persona with surgical precision.
Mendoza,
I don't know what you've heard,
Córdoba, Tucumán, Santiago
I
de
make it my
Chile,
business to know
Berlín,
things,
Nevada.
Dante
qué bien.
said. His hands remained in his
Madrid,
pockets,
Esquel,
his posture
Luján,
relaxed, but there was
Hemisferio
nothing
Norte.
relaxed about the promise in his eyes.
Escobar, Paso del Rey, Moreno, Río Gallegos, Santa Cruz, Mar del Plata.
Particularly when those things involve people who interest me. His gaze shifted, found mine across the room. Everything stopped. The tray slipped from my numb fingers. It seemed to fall in slow motion. Crystal glasses tumbling through air. Champagne arcing like liquid gold in the chandelier light. The crash when it hit the marble was deafening, sharp enough to make people jump, to shatter the frozen tableau.
Hay gente de cama, lo estamos acompañando con estos streaming, que bueno, ojalá que se mejoren. Colombia, Lanús, Cava,
I stood in a spreading pool of champagne and broken crystal, my cheap dress splattered, my face burning with humiliation so complete I wanted to die. I'm sorry, I gasped, dropping to my knees, reaching for glass shards with shaking hands. I'm so sorry. I'll clean it up. Don't. The command froze me mid-reach. Dante Moretti had crossed the space between us faster than should have been possible.
Okay. Ensenada, Pamplona, Río Gallegos, Almagro, Mercedes, Corrientes.
He stood over me, and I could see the fine weave of his suit pants, the polished leather of his shoes now surrounded by champagne and broken glass. You'll cut yourself, he said. His hand appeared in my field of vision. Long fingers, a signet ring that caught the light, an offering, an order. I looked up. This close. He was devastating.
La nube... Está bien. Parque Chacabuco, Neuquén Capital, Berazategui, Trelew, Chubut con 30 y pico de calor, mañana 40. Uf, qué heavy, Hay gente de Taiwán.
High cheekbones, a mouth carved for cruelty or kisses, and those eyes. God, those eyes that seemed to see straight through my skin to every scared, broken part of me. Take my hand, he said quietly. Not a request. My fingers touched his, and electricity shot up my arm. His hand was warm, strong, and he pulled me to my feet with effortless strength. I stumbled, and suddenly his other hand was at my waist, steadying me, burning through the thin fabric of my dress. We stood too close. I could feel the heat of him, smell cedar and danger. Mr. Moretti, I apologize for my employee's clumsiness, a voice said sharply. Giovanni, the restaurant manager, had appeared, his face red with anger and fear. She'll be disciplined appropriately, I assure you. She doesn't work for you anymore, Dante said without looking at Giovanni, his eyes still locked on mine. The words didn't make sense.
No está en Taiwán, me estaban jodiendo, bueno. Bueno, está bien, me toman para la chacota ya que están.
I shook my head, tried to step back, but his hand at my waist tightened fractionally, holding me in place. I'm sorry, sir, but she works for me now. Dante's voice carried to every corner of the silent room. And anyone who has a problem with that can take it up with me directly. The threat was implicit, absolute. Giovanni's face went white. He retreated, melted into the crowd like everyone else. I don't understand, I whispered. Dante's thumb moved against my waist, a small gesture that sent shivers down my spine. His expression was unreadable, but something dark and possessive flickered in his eyes. You will, he promised. Then, louder, his voice carrying that same quiet command. Get your things. You're leaving with me. I can't just... Sophia. The way he said my name, like he'd been saying it for years, like it belonged to him, made my breath catch. Do you trust me? I don't even know you, I said, but my voice shook. His mouth curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. That's not what I asked. Behind us, Marcus made a sound, protest, or disbelief. Dante's eyes flickered to him, and whatever Marcus saw there made him take 3 steps backward. "This is insane," I breathed. "Yes," Dante agreed. He released my waist but kept hold of my hand, his fingers laced through mine with proprietary certainty. "But you're going to come with me anyway." He was right. God help me, he was right. Because standing in that ballroom surrounded by broken glass and broken pride, with this dangerous stranger's hand wrapped around mine like a brand, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Alive. One of his security men appeared at his elbow, murmuring something too low for me to hear. Dante nodded, then looked back at me. "We need to leave. Now." "Why?" The word came out smaller than I intended. His jaw tightened. "Because in approximately 30 seconds, people are going to remember how to use their phones. And when they do, this will be everywhere. You'll be everywhere. Connected to me. And that's bad?" Something flickered across his face. Amusement mixed with something darker. "That depends entirely on your definition of bad, cara mia." The endearment should have sounded wrong in his mouth. Instead, it sounded like a promise, like a threat. Like the beginning of something I couldn't escape even if I wanted to. And the terrifying truth was, standing there in my ruined dress with his hand burning around mine, I wasn't sure I wanted to escape at all. The SUV was black, bulletproof, and filled with the kind of tension that made my lungs feel too small.
Can we zoom on that?
I sat in the back seat, pressed against the leather upholstery, hyper-aware of Dante beside me. Close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from his body. Far enough that we weren't touching. Though somehow the space between us felt more intimate than contact would have been. His security sat in front, silent and alert. The one driving had introduced himself only as Marco. The other hadn't bothered with a name at all.
Asumo la responsabilidad, pero no. ¿Se está durmiendo una siesta abajo de la arena?
Where are we going? My voice sounded strange in the quiet, too loud and too small at once. Somewhere safe. Dante's attention remained fixed on his phone, thumb moving across the screen with practiced efficiency. Even distracted, he radiated the kind of focused intensity that made me nervous. Safe from what? That made him look at me. In the dim interior, his eyes were almost black, unreadable. From the consequences of being seen with me. I didn't ask to be seen with you. The words came out sharper than intended, fear masquerading as anger. I didn't ask for any of this. You just decided, like I didn't get a choice. His jaw tightened. For a moment, I thought he might actually apologize, might acknowledge the insanity of what he'd done, claiming me in front of Manhattan's elite like I was property he'd just acquired.
That behavior is common in California.
¿Ves que está registrado en California?
La cabeza está dentro. Suctions on.
Instead, he said, "Would you rather I left you there? Let Marcus finish humiliating you in front of everyone who matters in this city?" The question hit like a slap. Because no, I wouldn't have wanted that. But admitting it felt like giving him permission for the kidnapping. And that's what this was, wasn't it? Kidnapping dressed up in expensive suits and bulletproof cars. "You don't know anything about me," I said quietly. "I know more than you think."
Si podemos lo agarramos, si no podemos lo dejamos.
Sí, sí. Por atrás. Gracias.
No, mira, está
He
acá.
pocketed his phone, turned to face me fully. The movement brought him closer, and I caught that scent again. Cedar and something darker.
No, lo viste,
Dangerous.
dejemos igual.
I know Marcus Bennett stole your restaurant concept 6 months
Se quedó
ago.
trancado, ¿no?
I know he used connections from his family's law firm to ensure you had no legal recourse. I know he proposed to you 3 weeks before the theft, then broke it off the day after he secured funding in his name alone.
Ok. Bueno, Francisco.
Se fue,
Acá.
Creo que sí.
¿Eh?
personó el celular y se fue.
Each word landed with surgical precision, reopening wounds I'd thought were beginning to scab over. How? I know you've been working 3 jobs to pay off debts he left in your name. I know you live in a 5th-floor walk-up in Queens with a broken heating system. I know you eat 1 meal a day and tell yourself it's intermittent fasting when really you're just trying to survive until your next paycheck. Horror crawled up my spine.
Right, yeah.
You've been watching me.
I tried to get it
Yes.
all in, but it's blocked.
Quedó trabada en la nevera.
No apology, no justification. Just brutal honesty delivered in that quiet, devastating voice. Why? The question came out as a whisper. His hand moved, and I flinched, couldn't help it. But he only reached past me to pull the seatbelt across my body, his knuckles brushing my collarbone as he clicked it into place. The touch was brief, almost impersonal, but it left my skin burning. Because 4 months ago, you served me coffee at that diner in Midtown.
Que se vaya.
¿Cómo lo dejamos salir?
O sea, si le quito la succión, a lo mejor se sale.
¿Sí?
Como la cabeza está hacia afuera.
The one that opens at 5 a.m. for the early shift workers.
Pero no se va a
He
quedar
settled
trabada en la
back,
nevera.
but his eyes never left my face. You were crying, trying to hide it, wiping your eyes when you thought no one was looking. But I saw.
Ahí va para afuera. Ahí va, se va a salir.
I remembered that morning. Remembered the foreclosure notice I'd received. The final warning from my landlord. The crushing weight of realizing I might actually end up homeless. Remembered serving coffee to suited businessmen who didn't bother to look at my face, who left change as tips like they were doing me a favor. I didn't remember him. You asked if I wanted cream,
Ok.
he continued.
No, no se quiere.
When I said no, you smiled, this tiny, broken thing, and said,
No vamos a poder mover.
I admire that,
Puedo, pero lo voy a-
taking things bitter. Like you understood something about bitterness that most people don't. My throat constricted.
Sí, está. Está bien.
That's not. I don't remember.
Sí, lo cerramos.
I know.
Lo que tiene todo
I was
el-
forgettable then. Just another
Seguimos,
customer.
Hasta el punto 6.
His mouth curved without humor.
Sí, sí.
But you weren't forgettable to me, Sophia. And when I make note of something, I don't let it go. The words should have terrified me.
Y la cola
Instead,
también está todo.
they sent a dangerous warmth through my chest, the kind that comes from being seen when you've spent so long invisible. So what? I forced steel into my voice. You've been stalking me for 4 months because I served you coffee and made a throwaway comment about cream?
Sí, sí.
No.
Ya les voy a echar. Yeah, Giselle.
He leaned closer, and suddenly the spacious back seat felt suffocating. I've been watching you, because something about your pain called to something in me. Because I saw strength in you
Okay.
that you don't even recognize in yourself. And because when I did a background check and discovered what Marcus had done,
Okay, let's continue.
I decided that anyone who could survive what you've survived deserved better than serving champagne to people who see her as furniture. A background check, I repeated numbly.
De los carbonatos nos olvidamos.
Sí.
I'm a thorough man. You're a criminal. The accusation hung between us. I waited for denial, for anger. Instead, he smiled. A real smile this time, dark and almost amused. Yes, I am. The admission stole my breath. Then why would you think I'd ever...
It's really useful.
Because you have nowhere else to go, Kara.
Depression sometimes.
The endearment again, possessive and soft. Because Marcus destroyed your reputation in the restaurant industry. Because your landlord is filing eviction papers next week.
Another hole or something.
Yeah, I don't know why they changed that.
Because you're drowning, and I'm offering you a lifeline. A lifeline with strings attached. Everything has strings. His hand moved to my chin, tilting my face up to meet his eyes. The touch was gentle, but there was steel beneath it. A promise that if I tried to pull away, he wouldn't let me. The question is whether you're strong enough to hold on to the rope, or proud enough to let yourself drown. I should have pulled away. Should have demanded he let me out of the car. Should have run back to my broken heating and instant noodles and the slow death of dignity that came with poverty. But his thumb brushed across my lower lip, and my breath stuttered. "What do you want from me?" I whispered. Something fierce and possessive flashed in his eyes. Everything. The car stopped. I hadn't noticed we'd been moving through narrower streets, away from Manhattan's glittering towers toward something older, more exclusive. Now we sat before iron gates that opened silently, revealing a private drive lined with manicured hedges. "Welcome home," Dante said, releasing my chin but not my gaze. The house, mansion really, rose from the darkness like something out of a Gothic novel. Stone and glass, old money and new security systems. Windows that glowed with warm light against the night sky.
I might eat your chips.
Marco opened my door. I stepped out on trembling legs, my server's shoes crunching on gravel that probably cost more than my monthly rent. "This is insane," I said to no one in particular. "Yes," Dante agreed, appearing at my elbow. His hand found the small of my back, guiding me forward. "But you're here anyway." Because he was right. Because I had nowhere else to go. Because some self-destructive part of me wanted to see where this dangerous path led.
Hello?
The interior was all dark wood and expensive art, the kind of space that whispered old money and older secrets. A woman appeared, 50-ish, gray-haired, with kind eyes that assessed me with maternal concern. "This is Teresa,"
Whoever.
Dante said. "She manages the household. Teresa, this is Sophia. She'll be staying in the East Wing." "Of course, Mr. Moretti." Teresa's accent was thick Italian, her smile genuine. "Welcome, dear. You look exhausted."
Amelia will be back in a few.
Okay.
"When did you last eat?" The question, so simple and caring, nearly
Hola,
broke me.
buenas tardes.
This
¿Cómo
morning.
están?
Coffee.
Soy
Her
Juliana.
expression tightened with disapproval, and she fired off something in rapid Italian at Dante. He responded in the same language, his tone placating. Whatever he said made Teresa shake her head, but moved toward what I assumed was the kitchen. "She's going to feed you," Dante translated unnecessarily. "And then she'll show you
Ahí
to
se
your
ve
room.
Un caracolito.
You need rest.
volúpido.
I need answers."
Avocado.
De odontosimbiola.
I turned to face him fully, drawing on reserves of courage I didn't know I still possessed. "You can't just collect me like a stray and expect me to be grateful. I need to know what this is, what you expect, what happens next."
Les recuerdo que ayer
He studied me
subimos,
for a long moment, and I saw
la
approval
foto
flicker
de
across his
mostrando la
features.
manito que preguntaban con qué
Fair enough.
señalábamos en la pantalla.
But first, you eat.
Y que
then we
contamos
talk.
que la
No.
pantalla la vamos señalando, indicando a los pilotos a dónde ir, o que qué lugar hacer zoom. Y teníamos todo un dispositivo que es como una
I crossed my
una
arms,
antena,
knew I
así
looked
como
ridiculous
un-
in my champagne-stained dress, making demands in a
una
mansion
antena
that probably had
telescópica
more
con una
bathrooms than my
manito
entire
de-
apartment building.
de goma. Sí,
Now, or I
al
walk
final,
out that
con-
door,
que indica con un dedo.
you won't make
con
it
un
to the
índice.
gate. The casual
que,
certainty
bueno,
of the
hagamos
statement
una
sent
fotito
ice
para que
through
la
my
vean.
veins. Is that a threat? It's a fact. My security won't let you
Que
leave.
justo alguien me
Not
había
tonight.
preguntado.
Not until I'm certain
Así
you're
que
safe.
buenísimo, siempre vienen bien las
Safe
preguntas
from
para
what? I
contarles
demanded,
cómo
voice rising.
son todas las cosas acá, ¿no? Bueno, ahí vemos un lenguado.
You keep saying that.
Bueno, y
But safe
aprovechando
from
toda
what?
esta inmersión
From
que ya
Marcus.
se nos va terminando un
Dante's
poco la
expression went
campaña.
cold. Dangerous.
Parece mentira todo
From
el
his
tiempo que
family's
pasó.
connections. From the attention you'll receive after being seen leaving with me. From every vulture in this city who'll want to know
todo
who you
este
are and
camino
how they can use
recorrido
you to get to me.
Por el
The
fondo
enormity of it
marino,
crashed over me like a wave. I didn't ask for
en
this.
esta cuenca de Malvinas.
No. He stepped closer, and I held my ground even though every instinct screamed to retreat. But it's yours now anyway.
Y hoy vamos a estar,
The moment I touched you,
se pierde un poco
the
la
moment
noción
I
del
claimed
tiempo,
you
sí,
in
pero
that ballroom,
seguro
you
pasada
became
la
mine in the
medianoche.
eyes of everyone who matters. And what's mine, I protect.
Siempre
I'm not
dependemos
yours. But my voice shook.
del tiempo, de las
His hand cupped my
condiciones, pero
face, thumb tracing my
no
cheekbone with
sabemos
devastating
si quizás
gentleness.
esta puede llegar a ser
Not yet,
una de las últimas
but you will
ya
be, cara mia, because I'm patient and I'm thorough and I don't lose.
inmersiones.
This is
Así
crazy.
que no queremos prometer
Yes.
nada porque después les iremos contando por nuestro Instagram, Piden los extremos.
He leaned in, close enough that I could feel his breath against my lips, close enough that if I moved even an inch, we'd be kissing.
Sí, nosotros también
you're still
estamos que
here.
no lo podemos creer cómo pasó
Teresa's return saved me from
estas
having to
semanas
respond.
en esta
She carried a tray laden with
en este
food,
trabajo que fue
pasta and cream sauce,
impresionante.
bread
Y
that
como
smelled
día a
like
día
heaven,
fuimos encontrando
wine that probably cost
más-
more than my car.
más evidencias de todo lo
Eat,
que estábamos
Dante commanded,
buscando
stepping back but not away.
y
Then
de lo
rest.
exitosa que fue la
Tomorrow,
campaña y,
we'll talk about
y
everything
también
else.
gracias a
I wanted
que,
to argue.
que nos bancan, ¿no? Desde tierra con su presencia, con sus preguntas,
Wanted to demand answers.
acompañándonos.
To assert some kind of control
Así que
over a
esto sea
situation
también
that had
un
spiraled
éxito
entirely out of my
para
grasp.
todos.
But the smell of that food made my stomach clench with desperate hunger. And the exhaustion I'd been fighting for
La campaña
months
sí
suddenly
es hasta el
crashed
10,
over me
pero
like a
después
tidal
nosotros
wave.
tenemos, que
So I
emprender
ate.
el tránsito
And
hacia
Dante
el
watched me
viaje
with those dark, possessive
hasta
eyes
Madrid,
that promised
que lleva
everything
varios
and
días.
threatened just as much.
Y bueno, vamos a ir viendo, dependiendo de las condiciones meteorológicas, cómo estamos para armar otro plan de inmersión.
When I finally pushed back from the table, full for the first time in weeks, he stood and offered his
Sí,
hand
nosotros también
again.
estamos muy emocionados por todo lo que
I'll
pasa
show you to your room.
y lo que
The East Wing was a
significa
maze of hallways lined with art I couldn't
como-
appreciate and doors I didn't dare open.
como argentinos.
He
y
stopped at the
argentinas,
last
como
one,
científicos,
pushed it open to
como
reveal a bedroom
docentes,
that could have housed my
estar
entire
acá.
apartment. There are clothes
Este
in the
fondo
closet,
marino,
he
en
said.
esta cuenca de
Your
Malvinas.
size. Tomorrow we'll get you anything else you need. How do you know my size? But I already knew the answer. Background checks, surveillance, the thorough attention of a man who made knowing things his business. Sleep, Sophia. He turned to leave, then paused in the
Ahora
doorway.
los dejo con que Emilia,
And don't
que
try to
volvió.
leave. Marco and his
nos vemos en
team
el
are
hotel.
stationed throughout the house. They won't hurt you, but they won't let you go either. So I'm a prisoner. You're protected. His jaw tightened. There's a difference. Is there? He looked at me for a long moment, and something almost like regret flickered across his features. Get some rest. We'll continue this tomorrow. The door closed with a soft click. I heard the lock engage from the outside. Prisoner then. Protected prisoner, maybe, but caged nonetheless. I should have been terrified. Should have been planning escape routes, cataloging weapons, doing all the things you're supposed to do when a dangerous man locks you in a gilded cage.
We're just entering a new depression. Just at the start
Instead,
of another.
I walked to the window and looked out at manicured grounds bathed in moonlight, at iron gates designed to keep the world out or me in. And I wondered what kind of woman I'd become, that some part of me, small but growing, didn't entirely want to escape at all. I woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the smell of fresh coffee. For a disoriented moment, I thought I was late for my shift at La Scala, that I'd overslept in my Queens apartment.
So this track is in the deepest area.
Then memory crashed back. The ballroom, the broken glass, Dante's hand burning around mine, the locked door. I sat up too quickly, and the silk sheets, actual silk, cool and impossibly soft, slid against my skin. I was wearing a nightgown I didn't remember putting on, though I vaguely recalled Teresa helping me out of my ruined dress, murmuring soothing words in Italian while I swayed with exhaustion. A knock at the door made me jump. "Come in," I called,
Yes.
then realized how absurd that was.
I zoom in around the shell.
I was the prisoner here,
Fabri, ¿vos querés las valvas
but the door
vacías
opened,
o-
and Teresa entered with a tray. "Good morning, dear. I hope you
Okay.
slept well."
Pues yo entendía que
The door
eran
was
las-
locked.
las almejas
I tried to
vivas
keep
que estábamos
accusation
buscando.
out of my voice. None of this was Teresa's
Acá hay un
fault.
agujero, no, es
Her
un-
expression tightened with sympathy. "Mr. Moretti's orders. For your protection,"
Ahí
he
hay
said.
unos agujeros, mirá. Esos
"Does he
dos de ahí
lock up
arriba,
all his
Fabri.
house guests?" "You're not a house guest."
Esos dos.
She set the tray
Ah.
on the bedside table. More
So-
food than I could possibly eat.
Ahí veo
Coffee
tres
that
lugares.
smelled like heaven. You're
Hacemos una pasada con
special.
la mano del rock.
The
para
word hung
cargar y
between
después
us,
metemos un pulso.
weighted with meaning I didn't understand. Where is he?
Arar un poco
I
con-
asked.
con la mano
Meetings.
donde
He
están
left
los-
very
los
early.
agujeritos esos de
Teresa
posibles
smoothed the
que están
bedspread
de
with
vaca
practiced
y-
efficiency,
Sí, porque se entierran
but he
20
asked that you join him for
centímetros,
lunch
así que
in his office,
es
1
difícil
o'clock.
de agarrar
A
un
command
pulso.
dressed as an invitation. And if I refuse? Teresa's smile was gentle but knowing. Then he'll come here instead. And I suspect you'd prefer the illusion of choice, yes?
Really? Where?
She was right. I nodded, defeated. After she left, I explored the room properly. The closet held an entire wardrobe in my exact size. Casual clothes, formal dresses, shoes arranged by height and style. Everything expensive, everything perfect, everything chosen by a man who'd been watching me long enough to know my measurements. I should have felt violated. Instead, I felt seen in a way that terrified and thrilled me in
Grab
equal
the
measure.
sediment first with the
I
hands
chose jeans and a simple
then
sweater,
push
both
down
softer
the
than
ball
anything I'd owned before.
and the siphons that were around. Creo que estaban un poquito más
They
hacia
fit
la derecha.
perfectly. Of course they did.
Claro.
The
Estaban
door
bien
was
arriba,
unlocked now.
esas
I
cosas
tested it
que-
carefully, half expecting
o sea que
alarms,
está-
but it opened
hay
silently
cerquita
onto the
de
hallway.
las valvas,
Freedom,
un tubito,
or the illusion
y
of
ahí
it.
están los agujeritos.
I wandered through the mansion like a ghost, cataloging exits, noting security cameras hidden in crown molding, seeing Marco stationed near the front entrance. He nodded politely, but positioned himself between me and the door, protected, prisoner. The line blurred more with
We
each
want to
passing
see
hour.
grabbing some of the superficial sediments on those
The library drew me
holes
in,
and then
floor-to-ceiling
the-
shelves, leather chairs, the smell of old paper and expensive whiskey. I ran my fingers along book spines, found first editions worth more than my yearly salary, found comfort in the weight of stories that weren't mine. He collects them. I spun. A woman stood in the doorway, 30-ish, beautiful in a sharp-edged way, dark hair pulled back severely. She wore a pencil skirt and silk blouse like armor, and her eyes assessed me with cool calculation.
So, near the shell. There. There are the
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. You're
like
Sophia.
above the
Not a
shells.
question. She moved into the room with predatory grace, heels clicking on hardwood. I'm Valentina, Mr. Moretti's associate. The pause before associate spoke volumes. I forced myself to meet her gaze. Nice to meet you. Is it? Her smile didn't reach her eyes. I wonder. Most women would run screaming from Dante Moretti. But you're still here. The door was locked. Is now? She gestured toward the hallway. Yet you haven't left. Because she was right. Because I was trapped by something more complex than locks and security guards. What do you want? I asked. Valentina circled me slowly, and I felt like prey being evaluated. To understand what he sees in you. To figure out what makes you different from all the others who've tried and failed to catch his attention. I didn't try to catch anything. No. She stopped in front of me,
Very fast.
close enough that I could smell her perfume. Something sharp and expensive.
Okay.
That's probably what caught him. Dante doesn't respond well to pursuit,
Ahí más o menos. Y ahora
but someone
puesto.
who doesn't know enough to run from him? That's intriguing. I'm not trying to be intriguing, which makes you more so.
You think these are
Her expression shifted, something almost like pity flickering across her features. A word of advice, Sophia.
¿Sí?
Whatever you think this is, whatever he's told you, it's more complicated than you can imagine. Dante Moretti doesn't do simple. He doesn't do safe.
No le tengo mucha fe realmente, pero vamos.
¿No? ¿No le tenés fe?
No, está difícil, no.
Ah.
And he never, ever lets go of what he considers his.
No, sí. Yo pensé
The
que era
warning
solo
should have sent me
trabajo.
running. Instead, it anchored something in my chest, heavy and inevitable.
La verdad que estoy-
I should get ready for lunch, I said quietly. Valentina stepped aside, but her voice followed me to the door. He'll consume you. The question is, whether you'll let yourself burn or try to keep some part of yourself intact. I didn't have an answer.
No, no sé.
Dante's office was all dark wood and darker secrets.
Está bien.
Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the grounds, but the glass was tinted, turning the world outside into shadow. He sat behind a massive desk, phone pressed to his ear, speaking in rapid Italian that sounded like orders.
Did you ever turn on
He saw me
section
and held up
number
one finger. Wait. I waited, because what else could I do?
when we started?
The office told stories his face never would. A chessboard with a game in progress, books on strategy and philosophy, a photograph on the desk, turned away from me but there nonetheless. And guns. I saw them now, noticed the shoulder holster visible when his jacket shifted, the locked cabinet that probably held more. This was who he was. Not just wealthy, not just powerful, dangerous. He ended the call, set the phone down with deliberate care. You look rested. I was locked in. For your protection. So I keep hearing. I moved to stand in front of his desk, refused to sit until invited. Your associate, Valentina. She seemed to think I should run. Something dark flickered in his eyes. Valentina
Sí.
oversteps.
Deberíamos estar
Does she?
llegando ahí a la
Because she
depresión.
seems to know you pretty well. She works for me.
¿Está hacia allá?
That's all you need to
Vamos
know
para
about
allá.
Valentina. He stood, moved around the desk with that fluid grace that reminded me of predators. Did she frighten you? Should she have?
No. Ah.
His mouth curved. You're braver than you pretend, cara mia. Or more desperate. The honesty
Wait.
escaped before I could stop it.
¿Dónde?
You said we'd talk. So talk. Tell me what this is. What you want from me.
¿Dónde? Ah,
He gestured to the leather couch against one wall. This time, I sat. He settled beside me, close but not touching. though I felt the heat of him like a brand.
Ah,
What do you know about my
ese
family?
tuito de ahí.
He asked. Nothing. Until last night, I'd never heard your name. Good.
Single push
He leaned
cord
back,
there would be
one arm
worth
draped
it
along the
or
couch
not?
back behind me. That means you're not here for my money or my connections. That what I see in you is real, not performance.
Yeah,
Any hours?
we are short on time. But if we...
What do you see in me? The question came out smaller than I intended. His hand moved to my hair, tucking a strand behind my ear
That's
with
not an
devastating
Akara's
gentleness.
behavior, okay? Then we
Strength.
continue.
Resilience. The kind of fire that doesn't burn out,
Okay.
no matter how much the world tries to extinguish it. My breath caught. You don't know me well enough to see that.
Buenas tardes,
I've
¿cómo
been
están?
watching you for 4 months,
Perdón
Sofía.
que estoy
I've seen you
un poco
work triple shifts and never
habladora hoy.
complain.
Estamos bastante cortos de tiempo en esta inmersión y estamos tratando de sacar al máximo provecho de este
I've
tiempo
seen
que
you give your
estamos
last
pasando en
dollar
el
to a
fondo del
homeless
mar,
woman, even though
en
you
este
were hungry
sitio
yourself.
que es un
I've
laboratorio
seen you
natural
rebuild
de-
yourself from nothing
para
after
estudiar
Marcus
los
tried to
ecosistemas
destroy you.
quimiosinéticos.
His
El
thumb
ecosistema
traced my
quimiosinético más
jawline.
activo que hemos encontrado hasta ahora
I know you better than you
en
think.
nuestro país.
That's not knowing someone.
Vemos un
That's
calamar muy
surveillance.
bonito.
It's both. No apology, just brutal honesty. I don't do anything halfway. When something captures my attention, I learn everything about it.
Estamos en esta inmersión haciendo un recorrido diferente del que hicimos en las previas inmersiones en este sitio, que es un montículo
Cara,
de carbonato
Captured my
derivados
attention
de
the moment
metano
you smiled
junto
through
con
tears and
hidratos
said
de
you admired
metano
bitterness
superficiales.
because it reminded you of
Es decir, que es
yourself.
un sitio con mucha
I said
actividad
quietly.
quimiosintética.
His eyes darkened with
Y
approval.
encontramos en este
Yes.
área una...
So,
Mirá,
what am I
muchas
to you?
conchas de ácaras.
A project?
Acá.
A pet? Someone to save so you can feel
Tres
less like a
seashells.
monster? The words
Estos
were
agujeros,
cruel,
¿qué tal?
born from fear and confusion, but he didn't flinch. Instead,
¿Alguna de estas
he leaned
valvas te
closer
sirve?
until his forehead almost touched mine. You're mine, he said simply. To
What do you
protect,
think, Lisa? Shall we
to
stop
provide
here?
for, to keep safe from everyone who would hurt
Ah,
you,
no. Hidroso.
including yourself,
Over there,
especially
there?
myself.
look like shells.
His hand cupped my face,
Shells.
and I saw something raw in his expression. Vulnerability quickly masked. I'm not a good man,
That
Sophia.
one?
The things I do,
I thought it
the world
might
I
be
live in,
actually the
it's dark,
itself, but
dangerous.
There's a hole.
Most people don't survive proximity
Yeah.
to me.
just like that.
Then let me go. I can't.
Push core over these if you
The
want
admission
to see
sounded
what's
like it cost him.
Okay.
I've tried. For 4 months, I told myself to stay away, that you deserve better than what I could offer.
Sí. Tres.
But then I saw Marcus humiliating you, saw you on your
Vamos a hacer de
knees in
las
broken
push-ups que
glass,
están.
and something in me
Tenemos,
just
tres.
broke.
Hacemos three push-ups.
His thumb brushed across my lower lip, and heat pooled in my stomach despite every logical reason to pull away.
¿Qué agujeros,
I need you to
parecen
understand
los
something,
pintadores?
he continued, voice dropping to that dangerous whisper. From the moment I touched you last night, you became a target.
11 and
Everyone who wants to hurt me will see you as the way to do it. I can't undo that.
Yes,
Can't make you
10,
invisible
11,
again.
12, 13.
So I'm trapped. You're protected, he corrected. There's a difference. Is there? I echoed my words from last night,
if they're Vacrex.
because from where I'm sitting, they feel the same.
Yeah, I thought that were
His jaw
federal, but
tightened.
no.
Then let me show you the difference.
Well,
He
they are
stood,
in this
offered his
hole,
hand.
this big hole,
Against
so-
every instinct of self-preservation, I
Uh-huh.
took it. He led me through the mansion to a room I hadn't found in my wandering. It opened onto an indoor pool,
In this one,
but that
we
wasn't what
did
made me
the
gasp.
We're in the smaller depression.
The far wall was entirely glass, overlooking gardens that could have been stolen from a European palace.
¿Cuál?
This is yours, Dante said. This room, those gardens. Anywhere in the house, on the grounds. You're not trapped, Sophia.
No, ese
You're free to
no,
move,
ese hidroso.
to explore, to live,
Between these two
as long as I don't try to
holes,
leave,
in between those
as long
two
as you
holes.
stay safe. His hand tightened on mine. I know it's not perfect. I know it's not what you would have chosen, but it's better than what you had.
Caben los dos ahí.
¿Caben los dos o the two holes then?
Better than struggling to survive. Better than Marcus's cruelty. Better than being invisible. He was right, and I hated that he was right. I want to make you a deal, he said. What kind of deal? Stay. For 1 month.
Sí, que nadie se vaya a
Let
lavar
me
los platos ahora
protect
que
you.
estamos haciendo los
Provide
postres,
for you. Show you what life could be like without constantly fighting to survive. If at the end of that month you want to leave, I'll let you go. Set you up with enough money to start over somewhere Marcus can't touch you.
I think so.
It sounded too good to be true. And if I stay,
Lo dejamos ahí,
something
lo dejamos
fierce and possessive blazed in his eyes. Then you become mine in truth. Not just under my protection, but by my side. In my world, in my life, in my bed.
The
last word sent heat cascading through me.
Sí,
That's
To the
not a
left.
deal. That's
como entre los dos ahí.
a choice.
ahí en medio.
Sí.
He turned me to face him fully,
Exactamente ahí, sí.
both hands framing my face now. The first real choice you've had in months,
Son aburridos.
maybe years. I'm not forcing you, cara mia. I'm offering you an alternative to the life that was killing you slowly. An alternative that comes with danger and darkness and someone who sees you. His voice dropped to barely a whisper. Someone who knows your worth. Someone who would burn the world down before letting anyone hurt you again. You're insane, I breathed. Probably. His mouth curved into that dark smile. But you're still considering it. Because I was. God help me, I was. Standing in that beautiful room with gardens stretching beyond, and this dangerous man's hands gentle on my face, I was actually considering trading one cage for another.
Yeah.
Except this cage came with silk sheets and full meals, and someone who looked at me like I mattered.
Yes.
1 month, I said finally. His eyes flashed with triumph, with possession, with something that looked almost like relief. 1 month, he agreed, starting now. Then he kissed me. His mouth was gentle at first, testing, giving me space to pull away. But when I didn't, when I leaned into him instead, my hands fisting in his shirt, the gentleness transformed into something consuming. He kissed like he did everything else, thoroughly,
And,
completely,
okay, so the next one
with
will
an
go to
intensity
the-
that left
the
no
next
room for doubt about his
holes.
intentions. His tongue traced my lower lip,
Number 15.
and I opened for him. Let him in. Let him taste and claim and possess. I'd been kissed before. Marcus had kissed me with practiced charm, with the calculated passion of someone following a script. This was different. This was being devoured,
Sounds good, Tony.
being claimed, being marked as his in a way that had nothing to do with words and everything to do with the way his hand tangled in my hair, the way his other arm banded around my waist, pulling me flush against him. When he finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard. 1 month, he repeated against my
Over
lips.
the hole, the big one.
Yeah, this one.
Ah, okay,
Uh-huh.
And then, cara mia, you'll never want to leave. It sounded like a promise. It sounded like a threat. It sounded like the absolute truth. The days blurred together in a strange mixture of luxury and captivity. I woke each morning to breakfast Teresa prepared with maternal care, spent afternoons in the library or gardens, and joined Dante for dinner when his mysterious meetings allowed.
I mean, if there was a lot of gas in here, it would be coming out in bubble. Yeah, when they push in.
He never told me details about his business, but I learned to read the tension in his shoulders, the darkness in his eyes when calls came at odd hours. A week passed, then 2. I stopped jumping when Marco appeared around corners, stopped cataloging exits I'd never use,
Yes.
started sleeping through the night without nightmares of Marcus's cruelty or eviction notices, started forgetting what it felt like to be invisible. Dante was attentive, obsessively so. He wanted to know what I ate, what I read, how I'd slept. His questions felt less like conversation and more like inventory, cataloging every detail, filing it away in that meticulous mind. It should have felt suffocating. Instead, it felt like being seen under a microscope, every flaw and fracture examined with something approaching reverence. "You're staring," I said one evening over dinner. We sat at opposite ends of a table built for 12, expensive wine neither of us had touched. "I'm appreciating." His mouth curved. "There's a difference."
Some space.
"Is there?"
Yeah.
I took a bite of pasta Teresa had outdone herself on, watched him watch me eat. "Because it feels like you're waiting for me to do something unexpected." "You're always unexpected, Kara." He stood, moved around the table with that liquid grace, stopped beside my chair. "That's what I appreciate most." His hand settled on my shoulder, thumb tracing my collarbone through the silk dress he'd had delivered that morning.
They were bubbling in the surface.
Black, elegant, far too expensive. Like
Yes.
everything else in this gilded cage. "The month is half over," I said quietly.
Momento de
I know.
tensión.
"And you still haven't told me anything real about yourself. About your business, your family, why people fear you." His hand stilled. "Would you like me to?" I turned to look up at him. "Yes." Something shifted in his expression, calculation giving way to decision. "Come with me." He led me back to his office, to the windows overlooking darkness. The city glittered in the distance, but here we were removed, separate, existing in our own world. "My grandfather built this empire," Dante began, voice low. "Started with nothing in Naples, came to America with violence and ambition, built something that couldn't be touched, couldn't be destroyed, passed it to my father, who expanded it, made it legitimate on the surface while keeping the darkness underneath. He poured whiskey, 2 glasses, handed me one. I took it, though I rarely drank. And then my father was killed." The words were flat, emotionless. I was 23, still in business school, still pretending I could be anything other than what I am. His enemies thought I'd be weak, thought they could take what he'd built.
Yes, yes.
But you weren't weak.
Uh-huh.
No.
Or do you prefer?
He drank,
No,
and I
no.
saw ghosts in his
No, no.
eyes.
Did you have lunch?
Yeah, I did.
I was ruthless, efficient.
Thank you.
I eliminated every threat, consolidated every loose end, made examples of anyone who thought they could challenge me. By the time I was 25, I'd made this family untouchable again. And the cost? His laugh was bitter. Everything that makes someone human. Trust, softness, the ability to let people close without calculating how they could betray me. I set down my untouched glass, moved to stand in front of him. Then why me? Why bring me into this if you can't trust anyone? Because you didn't
Bueno,
ask
¿cómo
to
andan?
be here.
Cuéntenos algo. ¿Qué están haciendo?
His hand cupped my face with devastating gentleness.
Tienen de fondo el...
Because you have nothing to gain from betraying me and everything to lose.
Tereré,
Because when I look at
cervecita,
you,
fornecito.
I see someone who survived despite everything. And that resonates. I'm not strong like you think I am. You're stronger. His thumb traced my lower lip.
Hay
You
alguien que
survived
pregunta,
without
¿cómo puede haber
becoming cruel?
burbujas donde no hay aire?
I survived
Cuando el gas
by
está
becoming a
súper
monster.
saturado,
You're not a
se forman
monster.
burbujas.
aren't
Y las
I?
burbujas pueden ser de distinto tamaño,
His smile was
pueden
dark.
ser muy chiquititas,
I've killed people,
microscópicas,
Sophia.
estar entre los
Ordered
intersticios del
deaths.
sedimento.
Pulled triggers
O puede ser
myself when
bastante
necessary. I've destroyed lives to
En
protect
otros
what's
casos puede
mine.
estar
I've
heridas
built an
disueltas,
empire on
eso no
fear
se
and
ve.
blood, and the kind of violence that would make you run screaming if you
Acá
truly
hay gente que
understood
me
it.
dice un poco trabajando,
The confession
un poco
should
en
have
el
terrified
stream,
me.
tomando mate.
Instead,
Recién estaba
I found myself
almorzando,
reaching
bueno,
up,
5 de la
covering
tarde.
his hand with mine.
Almorzando.
Then why does it feel safe with you?
Marcelo.
The question escaped before I could stop
no,
it.
Perdón, están hablando.
Why do I sleep better here than I ever did in my own apartment?
Cosiendo para su emprendimiento.
Because you know I'd
merendando y
never
mirando
hurt
el
you.
Streaming, haciendo la merienda, restaurando y puliendo unos muebles, viendo.
His voice
ropa.
dropped to barely a whisper. Because
Entrando al
whatever monster I
jardín.
am to the rest of the world, with you, I want to be
O
different.
mirando
Want to be, or are? I don't know
a alguien
yet.
que dice que es su cumpleaños,
Brutal
feliz
honesty.
cumpleaños, hoy también es el cumple de él,
But
él
I'm
está acá con
trying.
nosotros, es parte de nuestra
The kiss was
tripulación
inevitable.
científica.
His mouth
Mandamos
claimed
un-
mine with the same
un besote
intensity
grande,
as
no sé,
before,
debe estar
but underneath the
trabajando en las
possession
muestras
was
seriales
something
del CTV.
gentler, almost tentative,
Saludan desde Vietnam,
like he was offering me
preparando
something
mate amargo,
precious and
como
fragile.
corresponde, muy bien. Dibujando mientras nos escuchan. Nos estamos acompañando mientras estudian bioquímica.
I kissed him back,
Gente
poured
de
weeks of
Colombia,
confusion and
son las
fear
3
and
de la
growing
tarde,
attachment into the contact,
recién
His
terminando
arms
de
came around me,
almorzar,
lifting me effortlessly until
Luego
I
me
sat
ponía
on the
el
edge of his
cafecito,
desk, his body between my
tomando mate y
thighs.
mirándonos.
Tell me to stop, he murmured against my lips.
Alguien que recién
No.
termina de armar la pelo pincho.
His groan vibrated through both of us. His hands found my waist, slid up my ribs, careful and controlled even as his
Le
kiss
mandan
turned
todo
consuming.
feliz cumple a él, muchas gracias. Le vamos a mandar sus saludos. Todos haciendo
I felt his
algo, yo
restraint
ya
like a living thing.
viéndolos. Bueno,
Felt how much he wanted to take more,
hay formas
and how fiercely he
de
held
alcanzar
himself back.
distintas.
Dante. A knock shattered the moment. We broke apart,
Desde
both
Nueva
breathing hard.
Zelanda, qué bien.
Dante's expression shifted from desire to cold authority in an instant. What? He bit out. Marco opened the door, face
Y, bueno,
apologetic
esta
but
podría ser
urgent.
nuestra última inmersión.
Sir,
Tenemos que ver cómo
We
nos
have a situation.
va con el clima.
Marcus Bennett is at the
Si
gate.
tenemos suerte, capaz que mañana
Ice flooded
hacemos
my
una
veins.
inmersión más, pero no lo sabemos. Go fast.
What? Dante's jaw tightened, and I saw murder flash in his eyes before he controlled it. How did he find this location? Unknown, sir. But he's demanding to speak with you. Says it's about Miss Sophia. No. Dante's voice was absolute. Tell him to leave before I have him removed permanently. Wait. I grabbed his arm.
Podemos ver la
What does he
batimetría,
want?
piden acá.
It doesn't matter. It matters to me.
Juliana,
I turned to Marco.
olvídate de batimetría,
What did he say
de
exactly?
streaming. Thank you.
Marco
Ahí
glanced at
Juliana les va
Dante,
a
who
poner
gave
la
a curt
batimetría a los
nod.
que estaban pidiendo.
He claims Miss Sophia was taken against her will,
Sí, anoche le cantamos
that he's
el feliz cumple
concerned for her safety.
a L.
Laughter bubbled up,
Em.
bitter and sharp. Concerned. He's concerned. Sophia.
Se fue.
Dante's hand found my waist, possessive.
Zoom out.
You don't have to see him.
Sí, this is a Cora
Say the
Carter.
word and he'll never bother you again. The implication was clear, terrifying, thrilling. No,
Miramos un poquito
I said.
alrededor para ver si hay
I want to talk to
una
him.
densidad de corales
I want to
que
see his
podemos
face when I tell him exactly what I think of his concern. Dante studied me for a long moment.
con buena densidad, pero no.
You're sure? I'm
Allá
sure.
arriba capaz que hay más, ¿no?
Something like
Se ven
pride
los
flickered across his features. Then we'll see him
Pero no se ve
together.
tanto coral. Igual.
Marco,
Bueno,
have him
podemos
brought to the
seguir.
library, full security detail, and make sure he understands that one wrong move, one word I don't like, and
Recordemos
he'll
que
regret
pueden
ever
seguir
coming here.
las travesías del Falcon
Marcus
y del
looked smaller than I
Sebastian cuando
remembered.
sigan con
Or
sus
maybe I'd grown
proyectos
larger, not in size,
de
but in
en
presence.
Brasil. Si siguen el streaming en el canal del Smith Ocean Institute van a poder seguir viendo todas las maravillas que se van encontrando en el mar.
Standing beside Dante in the library with Marco and two other guards
Este podría
positioned
ser un buen
strategically,
lugar
I felt armored in a way I'd never experienced before. Marcus's eyes found me, widened with something that might have been concern if I didn't know him better. Sophia, thank God. I've been trying to reach you for weeks. Have you? My voice was flat, emotionless. How strange, since you had no trouble reaching me when you wanted to humiliate me in public. He flinched. That was... I was angry.
Okay.
I said things I didn't mean.
So
But
we
this-
will try to see
He gestured around the library,
next to
at Dante standing
a bunch of
beside me
cars
like a dark angel.
here.
This isn't safe. You don't know who this man is, what he's capable of. I know exactly who he is. I took a step forward, felt Dante's hand settle on my lower back. Support, not restraint. He's someone who sees me as more than furniture. Someone who hasn't stolen from me, lied to me, or thrown my worth in my face. He's a criminal, Sophia. A mobster. Do you understand what that means? Better than you understand what loyalty means, apparently. Marcus's expression shifted, and I saw calculation behind the concern. Is he forcing you to say this? Threatening you? The only person who ever threatened me was you. The words came easier than I expected, months of suppressed anger finally finding voice. When you stole my work, when you destroyed my reputation, when you made sure I couldn't fight back legally.
Like up current, so like before the current civil wars.
I did what I had to do for my career.
So do you like this place?
You did what benefited
Yeah,
you,
that's beautiful. That's
regardless of who it hurt. I moved closer, and satisfaction bloomed when he took a step back.
Okay.
You took everything from me and called it ambition. Dante gave me back my dignity and called it protection. So yes, Marcus, I understand exactly who the dangerous man in this room is.
Wow. Me pusieron los batimapas. Cuéntenme si está ok lo que pidieron. Estamos viendo
You can't
este jardín
seriously
de corales
think.
sobre
I
los
think,
carbonatos.
Dante interrupted, his voice quiet and
Tiene una
absolutely
densidad
lethal,
menor.
that you have
que
30
los
seconds to
jardines
leave
de
my
corales
property
que
before I
veníamos
forget
viendo
that
en las
Sophia
inversiones
asked me to
previas
let you
en este
walk out of
lugar.
here alive. Marcus's face went pale.
Pero
His eyes darted between us, looking for
let's
cracks,
start with
for
the one in
vulnerabilities
the
to exploit,
box two-way.
finding none. This isn't over, he said finally. Yes, I replied. It is. We're over. Your ability to hurt me is over. Whatever concern you're pretending to have, that's over too. Leave, Marcus, and don't ever come back. He left, escorted by Marco with enough force to make his exit clear. The door closed, and silence settled over the library like snow. You were magnificent.
Estamos
Dante
ahora por
murmured.
desplegar estos experimentos
I
de
turned to find him
restauración de
watching me with
corales
something fierce and proud blazing in
esta
his
zona
eyes.
para ver si
I was
se
angry.
colonizan
You were
por
strong.
corales. Y otra fauna epibentónica que usa corales como sostén.
He pulled me against him,
Queremos
and I
ver
went
qué
willingly.
tipo de
let myself be
funciones
held
o
by this dangerous man, who somehow
qué
felt
tipo de
safer than
biodiversidad
anyone
se
I'd
puede llegar a
known.
recuperar con estos experimentos.
He'll try
comparado
again.
con
Men
con
like
los
Marcus
con
don't
los
accept
corales
defeat
reales.
gracefully.
Esto es parte
Let him try.
de un proyecto en el que
I looked up.
participo como
Met those dark eyes.
co-investigadora
I'm not the same
principal,
person I was when he broke me.
que es financiado por
No.
Cordap,
His mouth curved into that dangerous smile.
una
You're mine now.
entidad filantrópica
And I protect what's mine.
que trata de
The possessiveness should have rankled.
conservar corales. Y nuestro proyecto es
Instead, it settled over
el
me like
primero, uno de los
armor,
primeros que
like
está dedicado
promise,
a corales
like
de
the
aguas
beginning of
frías, es
something
decir,
I
estos
couldn't
corales que
name,
viven en
but
el mar
desperately
profundo.
wanted. The month isn't over yet, I reminded him. I know. His hand tangled in my hair, tilting my face up. But we both know you're not leaving when it is. Confident. Certain. He kissed me, slow and deep and claiming. Because you feel it too, cara mia. This thing between us. This inevitability. He was right. Somewhere between locked doors and careful questions, between silk sheets and searching looks, I'd stopped planning escape routes and started imagining futures. Dangerous futures. Dark futures. But futures where I wasn't invisible, wasn't struggling, wasn't alone. What happens now? I whispered against his lips. His smile was dark promise. Now, I make sure you never regret choosing me over safety. I didn't choose safety with you. I chose danger. Then let me show you, he murmured, lifting me into his arms with effortless strength. Just how dangerous I can be when protecting what I love. The word hung between us. Love, unplanned and absolute. And as he carried me from the library toward his bedroom, toward a future I'd never imagined but suddenly couldn't resist, I realized I'd stopped counting days until freedom, started counting moments until I was completely, irrevocably his. 3 weeks became 4. 4 became 6.
Good? Pretty much anywhere in this area.
The arbitrary timeline we'd agreed upon dissolved like sugar in rain, forgotten in the rhythm of days that felt less like captivity and more like coming home. I stopped asking when I could leave. Dante stopped pretending he'd ever let me go. The shift was subtle at first. Small freedoms granted, then expanded. He took me to dinner at exclusive restaurants where waiters knew his name and feared his silence. Drove me through the city in that bulletproof SUV, Marco always present but fading into background. Showed me his world in careful increments, watching for the moment I'd flinch away. I never did. Maybe that made me reckless. Maybe it made me his. The distinction blurred more each day. I need to tell you something, Dante said one evening. We sat in his bedroom, our bedroom now, though the transition had been gradual, inevitable.
And if we can take the rubber band off.
I'd started sleeping there 2 weeks ago, drawn by nightmares that only quieted when his arms were around me. I set down the book I'd been reading, studied his profile in lamplight. That sounds ominous. It's complicated. He turned from the window where he'd been staring at darkness, and I saw tension in every line of his body. Marcus filed a missing persons report, claims I kidnapped you, that you're being held against your will. My stomach dropped. Can he do that? He did. The police are investigating. His jaw tightened. They can't touch me directly. I have too many connections, too much leverage. But they can make things difficult. Ask questions, demand to see you. Then let them see me. I'll tell them the truth. Which is... His eyes searched mine, looking for cracks, for doubts. That I'm here because I want to be. The words came easily now. Truth I'd stopped fighting. That Marcus is a vindictive bastard who can't accept that I moved on. Something fierce blazed in Dante's expression. He crossed to where I sat, pulled me to my feet, framed my face with both hands. If you tell them that, there's no going back. Everyone will know you're mine. Really mine. Not just rumor, not just speculation. Fact. I know. They'll come after you to get to me. Rivals, enemies, anyone who thinks hurting you will hurt me. You'll protect me. Not a question. I'd seen his security, felt the weight of his attention. Knew he'd burn the world before letting anyone touch what he considered his. With my life, he promised. But Sophia, You need to understand what you're choosing. This isn't temporary anymore. This isn't playing house in a safe bubble. This is becoming part of my world. Really part of it. I understand. Do you? His thumb traced my cheekbone, and I saw vulnerability beneath the dangerous exterior.
Si mi mamá me escribe,
Because
hola
once you
Emilia,
make this choice,
me pone
I won't be able to let you go.
del
Won't
mate.
want to.
Así que la saludo.
Yeah, it's,
You'll be mine in every way that matters, and I'm not a man who shares. I don't want you to share. The admission felt like jumping off a cliff. I don't want temporary. I don't want safe.
Hay gente que dice,
I want
hola, ¿por dónde andan?
this,
Estoy de guardia y los
you.
encontré de casualidad.
Whatever
Seguimos
that
frente a las
means.
costas de Tierra del Fuego, en la
His
cuenca
kiss was
Malvinas.
crushing,
Estamos en
desperate,
este momento
like he was trying to
en,
crawl inside my skin and make a home there.
una especie de volcán de fango
I kissed him back
chiquitito.
with
Se
equal
llama,
intensity. Months of tension and denial finally
Hojo
breaking like a
Mound.
dam.
Es un
Mine.
lugar con mucha
He growled
actividad de
against my lips.
filtración de gases
Say it.
y con
Yours. I'm
hidratos de
yours,
metano
breathed.
superficiales.
The words
Un
unleashed something
ecosistema
in him.
quimiosintético
His hands found the
está
hem of my
asociado a todas
dress,
estas filtraciones de
silk,
gases,
expensive, bought by him,
con
and pulled it
diferentes
over my
tipos
head
de
in one
hábitats,
smooth
diferentes
motion.
comunidades.
Cool air hit my skin, but his hands were immediately there, warming, claiming, mapping territory he'd touched before but never possessed.
Estuvimos visitando
Tell me you're sure,
este sitio ya
he
en dos
demanded,
inmersiones previas
mouth trailing fire down my throat.
y es el
Tell me you
sistema
want
con
this.
más actividad
I'm
quimiosintética
sure.
que se haya registrado en el mar
My
profundo
fingers
argentino
worked
hasta
at his
ahora.
shirt buttons, desperate to feel skin against skin. I want this.
Sí, es
Want
la
you.
Marcela la que anda ahí, mi mamá.
He lifted me, and I wrapped my legs around his waist as he carried me to the bed. We fell together, a tangle of limbs and desperate kisses, clothes disappearing until there was nothing between us but heat and need and the weight of choices we'd both made. When he finally moved inside me, it felt like coming home and losing myself in equal measure. He was gentle at first, giving me time to adjust, watching my face for signs of discomfort.
think the middle of the floor colors and
But when I pulled him closer, demanded more, the gentleness transformed into something consuming. He made love to me like he did everything else, thoroughly, intensely, with complete focus on learning every sound I made, every place that made me gasp.
Sí, la
And when
Marcela
we
y el
finally
Juan.
shattered together,
Acá
his
hay alguien
name
que
on my
pregunta,
lips, and
contanos
mine
por
on
fin cómo
his.
fue
I knew
el
there was no
proceso de
going back.
conseguir el proyecto,
I was
la
his,
previa
completely,
y demás.
irrevocably, dangerously
Bueno, antes
his.
de conseguir el tiempo
The
de
police
buque,
came 3 days later.
Estábamos haciendo un proyecto de investigación para
Two
conseguir
detectives in cheap suits,
financiación,
faces carefully neutral as Marco led them into the library
con
where Dante
un
and I
grupo
waited. Miss
de
Castellano,
nosotros,
the older detective said.
que es
I'm Detective
justamente ese
Morrison.
proyecto que
This is
busca
Detective
restaurar
Chen.
corales de mar
We're here about a
profundo.
missing persons report
Después,
filed by Marcus Bennett. I'm not missing, I said calmly.
Hicimos una aplicación
Dante sat beside me on the
para
couch,
ese proyecto
his hand
y
resting
otra
possessively on my
aplicación
thigh. As you can clearly see,
para la
Mr.
campaña,
Bennett
para no
claims
tener
you were
tiempo de
taken
búsqueda
against
a
your
bordo del
will.
Falcor 2.
That Mr.
Find it?
Moretti here has been holding you captive.
Perdón, que estoy
Marcus
anotando,
is a
ahora vuelvo
liar.
a contarles.
The words came out cold, certain. He's angry that I left him and moved on. This is harassment, Detective. Nothing more. Detective Chen pulled out a notepad. Can you describe the
Participamos en la
circumstances of how you came to be living here?
abierta, con la
I told
expresión de
them.
interés se llama, que es
All of
una
The ballroom,
presentación
the
resumida
humiliation.
de apenas 4
Dante's
carillas
offer.
donde tenemos que
I left nothing
explicar
out
cuáles
except
son
the
los
parts that were
objetivos,
mine
qué
alone to keep.
áreas vamos a explorar,
When I finished, both detectives looked skeptical.
qué equipo científico tenemos, qué tipo de maniobras queremos hacer.
And you're staying here of your own free will? Morrison pressed.
Este
Completely.
tipo de convocatoria será abierta
I leaned into
a todo
Dante's
el
side,
público
felt his arm come around
global
me.
que quisiera hacer investigaciones
I'm
en la
here
zona del
because I
Atlántico
choose
Sur.
to be.
Y
Because
sucedió
Dante treats
en
me
el año
better than Marcus
2023.
ever did.
Hubo muchos
Because I'm
aplicantes
safer here than
en
I've ever
Argentina,
been.
o sea, gente de Argentina que
Safe.
aplicó por ese tiempo
Chen's
de
tone
buque
was
a bordo
carefully
del Falcor
neutral,
y también de
with a
distintos
known
lugares del
organized
mundo.
crime figure.
Nuestro proyecto fue
alleged
seleccionado en esa
Dante's
fase,
lawyer, who'd appeared the
inicial,
moment the police
y ahí
arrived,
pasamos a la segunda
interjected
fase, que era la
smoothly.
del proyecto
My
completo.
client has never been convicted of any
En
crime.
esa fase de proyecto completo, junto con
That doesn't mean-
otras
It means,
3-4
I
personas,
interrupted,
éramos los que
that you're
estuvimos
wasting your
escribiendo
time.
estas
I'm not a
propuestas.
victim. I'm not being held against my will.
Realizamos la propuesta
Marcus is
completa,
using
en la
you to
cual
harass me
desarrollamos
because he
todo
can't
el
accept
proyecto
that
de
I moved on.
investigación,
The
y de
detectives
divulgación
exchanged
asociado.
glances. Finally, Morrison
Un
stood.
trabajo muy
If that changes,
detallado
if
de
you ever
lo
need
que íbamos a
help,
hacer,
there are
qué tipo
resources.
de
I won't need them.
factibilidad
I stood
teníamos para
too,
realizar las
Dante
investigaciones
rising
que nos
with me,
proponíamos,
solid
entre otras
presence at my
cosas.
back.
Y
But thank
fuimos
you for
seleccionados,
checking.
se nos otorgó el
Now,
tiempo de buque,
if
nos
there's nothing
avisaron,
else, I'd like
en
you to leave.
junio del año pasado.
They left,
Y, desde
and I felt
entonces,
the finality of
fuimos
it settle over
ajustando
me like a
el
cloak.
tiempo en el cual iba a suceder nuestra
chosen,
campaña, y ya sabíamos
publicly,
que la
officially,
habíamos conseguido desde
irrevocably.
junio del año pasado hasta ahora, así que fueron
That was brave, Dante murmured against my
muchos
hair.
meses de
That was
ver
necessary.
el momento,
I turned in his
en
arms,
función de
looked
los
up at
tiempos
him.
del buque, que
Marcus needed to understand that his power over me is
las
gone.
condiciones que proponía
That I'm not his
el
to
mismito
save or
Bullrun
claim or
respecto de
use.
cuándo se podía hacer la
You're
campaña,
mine to protect.
y
Yes.
todo el trabajo
I kissed him,
administrativo,
soft
coordinación
and certain.
científica y demás, que lleva
I am.
un montón de carga de...
The weeks that
de
followed
laburo,
brought
así
change
que-
like a storm.
Excelente.
Dante took me to family dinners where his relatives assessed me with calculating eyes and grudging approval. Took me to business meetings where I learned to read the room, to understand when silence meant agreement and when it meant threat. Valentina became an unexpected ally, teaching me the unspoken rules of Dante's world with sharp-tongued efficiency. Don't show weakness, she said one afternoon over coffee. Don't apologize for being there. You're his now. Act like it.
Okay, dale, vamos.
I learned, adapted. Became someone who could stand beside Dante at charity galas and underground meetings alike, who could smile at his enemies and mean it when I said they didn't frighten me. Because they didn't. Not with Dante's hand at my back, his security shadowing my movements, his absolute certainty that nothing would touch me while he drew breath.
Sí, parece...
Marcus tried once more, showed up at a restaurant where we were dining, drunk and belligerent. Dante had him removed so efficiently I barely saw it happen. The next day, Marcus's company lost 3 major contracts. A week later, he was under investigation for fraud. I should have felt guilty. Instead, I felt satisfied. You're different, Teresa said one morning as she brought breakfast. 6 months had passed since that night in the ballroom. 6 months since my life had transformed from struggling survival to dangerous luxury. Different how? Stronger, more certain. She smiled, maternal and knowing. You've found where you belong. She was right. Somewhere between silk sheets and stolen kisses, between learning to read Dante's moods and letting him read mine, I'd stopped feeling like an imposter in this world. Started feeling like I'd come home. Marry me. The words came one evening as we sat in the library, Dante reviewing contracts while I read beside him. Casual, domestic, terrifyingly normal. I looked up, certain I'd misheard. What? He set down his papers, turned to face me fully. Marry me. Make this official. Let me give you my name, my protection, everything I have. Dante, I know it's fast. His hand found mine, laced our fingers together. I know this isn't how normal relationships work, but we're not normal, cara mia. We never have been. You're asking me to marry you after 6 months of what basically started as kidnapping. His mouth curved. When you put it that way, it sounds insane. It is insane. But you're considering it anyway.
Esa está buena, sí. Así le llevamos hisopos a Brenda.
He pulled me closer, until I was sitting across his lap, his arms around me like chains I'd learned to crave.
¿Viste?
Because you feel it too. This certainty, this inevitability. I did. God help me, I did. What about your world? I asked quietly. Your enemies? Your business? Won't marrying me make me more of a target? You're already a target by being with me. Marriage just makes my claim official, legal, unbreakable. His hand cupped my face with devastating gentleness. And it means anyone who tries to hurt you knows they're not just facing my anger. They're attacking my wife, my family. That carries weight in my world. So this is strategic. This is everything. His thumb traced my lower lip. Strategy, protection, possession, love, all of it tangled together in a way I can't separate anymore. I want you as my wife, Sophia. Want to wake up next to you for the rest of my life. Want to build something with you that can't be destroyed.
Qué bueno, ¿no? Alquilar tan rápido, tan fácil otro... Quien pudiera.
We're already building that. Then make it permanent. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a box I hadn't seen coming. Inside, a ring, emerald surrounded by diamonds, antique and breathtaking. This was my grandmother's. She wore it for 50 years, through wars and enemies and everything my grandfather's world threw at them. She survived it all, thrived in it. Like you think I will. Like I know you will. He slid the ring onto my finger, and it fit perfectly. Of course it did. Say yes, Kara. Choose me. Choose this life. Choose us. I looked at the ring, at him, at the future spreading before us. Dangerous and dark and absolutely certain. Thought about the girl I'd been 6 months ago, invisible and broken, serving champagne to people who saw through her. Thought about who I'd become. Stronger, fiercer, loved by a man who'd burn the world to keep me safe. Yes, I whispered. His kiss was claiming, possessive, filled with promises I knew he'd keep. Finally broke apart. He pressed his forehead to mine. Mine, he murmured. Finally, completely, legally mine. Yours, I agreed. Always yours. We married 3 months later in a private ceremony that blended elegance and danger in equal measure. His family filled the church, aunts and uncles and cousins who'd all learned to accept me, if not entirely trust me yet. My side was smaller. Teresa, who'd become the mother I'd lost, and a few friends brave enough to attend, despite knowing who my groom was. Marcus wasn't there. He'd left the city 2 months prior, his reputation destroyed, his stolen success crumbling. I didn't ask what Dante had done to make that happen. Some things were better left unspoken. I wore white, traditional, beautiful, expensive as everything Dante touched. He wore black, dangerous and devastating, and when he lifted my veil to kiss me, I saw possession and pride and something softer in his eyes. Love. Real, complicated, all-consuming love. Mrs. Moretti, he murmured against my lips.
That's a nice view.
The name settled over me like destiny, like coming home, like the end of one story and the beginning of another.
Zoom in
We danced at the reception while his world watched, assessing,
on the experiment
calculating,
and
ultimately
see if we can
accepting.
take out the ROV and
I was his
just
now,
like that
officially,
for
publicly, irrevocably. That
setting.
made
I
me
don't know if
family.
it'll focus, but
That made me protected. That made me dangerous in my own right. Happy? Dante asked as we swayed together. I looked up at this man who'd seen me at my lowest and decided I was worth saving, who'd given me luxury and protection and a love so fierce it sometimes frightened me,
To show the
who'd transformed me from invisible to essential in the span of
I don't know
months.
what she's got, but
Yes, I said simply. I'm happy. Good. His hand tightened at my waist, possessive as always. Because you're stuck with me now, cara mia. No escape clauses, no trial periods, just us, for the rest of our lives.
well, I have to decide.
I wouldn't
whether
want to
another
escape.
rock here or look for another
The truth of it
place.
rang through me, clear as bells.
Guess we'll keep going.
Not anymore. Not ever. He kissed me there on the dance floor, and I felt the weight of his world settle around us, dangerous, dark,
Are
demanding.
we on our?
But I also felt his love,
track?
his protection,
And then we'll-
his absolute certainty that together we could weather anything. I was Mrs. Moretti now,
Go straight back to waypoint 9
Okay.
wife of a man the city feared,
As long as
partner
we
to
don't
someone
run
who'd
over-
kill to keep me safe, beloved of a monster who showed me
I
his
didn't
humanity.
see- I wasn't here when they
And
were
standing
put
there
down
in his
so much
arms,
which side.
surrounded by luxury built on darkness, I'd never felt more free. The girl who'd served champagne and swallowed humiliation was
We're gonna
gone.
go.
In her place stood a woman who'd learned to thrive in shadows, who'd found strength in surrender, who'd discovered that sometimes the most dangerous choice is also the one that saves you.
Rays attacking
I chose danger.
these experiments yet.
Chose darkness, chose him. And I'd choose him again, every
Did you
day.
guys by any
For the rest
chance
of my
marker
life.
down here? Oh.
The ballroom where it all began felt like a lifetime
I
ago.
think it's a good idea.
Another world.
No.
Another version of myself.
Can you just-
Now I had silk sheets and full meals,
yeah.
and a man who looked at me like I hung the moon. Now I had
Call
home,
it
and it tasted like champagne and danger and dark-eyed promises kept.